crypto asset? Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Which one's the best crypto asset? Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Which one's the best? 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 What's the second best?
Welcome back, Discover Crypto. We have an incredible show lined up today. We've got some major developments coming out of Trump's mouth, talking about a potential 500% tariff. And will that shock the market? What will it mean for Bitcoin and crypto? And how does it actually pertain to the markets in general? Beyond that, we've got other major things brewing coming up tomorrow regarding the Supreme Court going on with the tariff discussion. But remember, we want to talk about Bitcoin. We want to talk about crypto, all these altcoins that we're having. Can we make some money? We've got to talk about these other major global financial impacts and how they are affecting what's going on in the risk model. Because on the one hand, we have an overwhelming setup for like an absolutely monster God candle blast off. But at the same time, there are some significant reasons for caution. And we've got those charts we're going to be breaking down here for you in just a moment. Also, the AI sector in crypto feels like it's already starting a bit of a boom. Is this just a little bit of a mini fake out to the upside, or are we about to go into another AI mini alt season blast off because we're seeing some major gainers in that regard as well? Everybody hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, ding the bell. And we got the man surrounded by the green, strapped on the shoulder, making sure that he can do self-defense in any way that he thinks is probable. So, hey, how you doing, my friend?
I'm feeling good, man. I'm feeling good. I was just noticing 2-bit added silver, so I can create my own bull market, shorting and longing silver now on 2-bit, which I'm kind of excited about. Some of the fog of holiday war is past now, so I've left the charts alone in terms of leverage for a few weeks, but I'm taking my tether. I'm going back into the line of fire here. Last year was super fun trading. So I'm ready to, I feel real refreshed. I feel like the market's refreshed too. Kind of interesting to see some of the AI tokens you were mentioning when I came to you this morning are actually doing pretty good in light of all of the crazy news that's been going on. That's pretty impressive, honestly. So I'm feeling good, man. I'm feeling good. I'm excited to look at the rest of the market and kind of snoop through trades as we go through the show here today.
Absolutely. You know, I'd love to just ask everybody, because this is a little bit of a tangent, but who is tired of this? Pull this screen up right here. Who's tired of this? And this is nearly everybody on any social media platform. You know, from being one type of expert to 3 days later, all of a sudden you're another type of expert. And it doesn't even need to be these two things. It could be anything that's going on in the political sphere and the financial sphere, TA charts, what's going to pump, what's going to dump. Everybody seems to be an expert after 13 seconds after something happens. The next day, they're an expert on something else. So I'm a little bit cooked on that. But we got to look at the markets, guys, because we are seeing some really interesting setups right now. One thing that is being absolutely not moving at all is Bitcoin and Ethereum. They're getting these little fake little pump ups, these little small little breakdowns. It stokes the fear back to the downside. In fact, we're seeing that continued and persistent fear that is here. I mean, this is the most extended we've seen in this entire bull market structure. And yes, we are still in a bull market. Why is that? We have higher lows, all the way up. We still have a higher low. Now, the biggest caution we're going to have, and to Crank's point yesterday, there are reasons to look bearishly, because when you're looking at the price action as it stands right now, even looking at this fear and greed, the price action, we still need to wait for the price action to come up and not establish a lower high that then breaks down, because that would mean that we have started a real midterm macro bear trend, which could mean that we're coming down into these mid 60s, 70s regions. But I'm feeling less and less inclined to believe that. And that's partially because when we're looking at Bitcoin, we are right in this context right here where we're kind of floating around this major support level that is a support level that turned into resistance that we're back above, but we haven't really done anything. Look, we had a little move up right into the range of these highs, but if you zoom in and you get down to the 30-minute time frame on the near term, there's some reasoning why we got this pump here. What is that reason? Look at this beautiful bull divergence that we've had established here since all the way back here on January the 6th. Seems like January the 6th is a big day for so many different reasons, but the RSI quite low. We've kind of gotten these higher lows on the RSI coming all the way into here. And the key difference here, though, isn't that the fact that the RSI has popped up. We have the RSI back above the 50 line, and we also have the money flow turning positive here. So all eyes are going to be on how the price action in this area either forms something like an inverse head and shoulders or actually comes down and continues lower. If you're just looking at this right now, just at a glance, Drew, what's your feeling about the likelihood of what's happening and what will change that potentially even tomorrow?
Yeah, so go back to the fear and greed chart, because this, I just made my decision. We're going up. This is way too much dark red in our current situation. Extreme fear is where we've been sitting at. And honestly, man, like looking at that, we have spent a very, very long time at extremely heightened fear levels. This looks like a bounce point. And I was listening to Crank, and I love different, viewpoints, and people will look at their own things. But honestly, getting the opportunity to buy 50 grand Bitcoin sounds too good to be true for me. And where we're at right now, we have been edged around this $80,000 zone for a very, very long time. And I just don't feel like we're going to get that nasty 80, 70% drawback. And a lot of people come out and they're like, oh, silver's in its bull market. And every time it's the last thing to pump. Silver sat stagnant for decades. Okay. There is no 4-year cycle that silver is following right now. Silver and gold are moving because the market is stagflating. It's stopping, right?
Well, beyond the stagflation, it's like you have gold and silver, which can kind of be a predecessor, a good signal that, major players, I'm talking about major global financial players like countries, like major financial institutions can kind of see the writing on the wall about what's coming up in terms of money printing, in terms of economic stress, especially the question about the dollar and what's going on there. That's really been just protracted since the sanctions on Russia with the US dollars. Everybody's looking like, okay, we need to hedge ourselves against this global reordering that's happened. But then you take all politics aside, take money printing aside. You also have this major tech boom going on right now with an overwhelming exponential increase in infrastructure development surrounding that tech boom, like basically infrastructure, data centers, and all that. And all these very large in part do need gold. They do need silver. But more importantly, despite even the business cycle discussions that we've been having, copper's the number one metal they need in a lot of these infrastructure plays, because it's one of the major proponents of not only chipsets, but also the electrical needs that are required. So I hadn't even considered that, Drew, thinking about not just the money aspect and the hedging asset and store of value of these precious metals, but also the infrastructure play that's also further supporting the price action on all three of those.
Yeah, 100%, man. And it's like, in this time frame, people are checking out. They're just like, oh, I'll take a look at crypto in 2 years. I literally looking at that chart, like the fear and greed being that sold off for this amount of time. Like, I think we're hitting like historic amount of time where the market basically thinks that it's over, and the shorts are getting way too cocky for me to think that they can continue being right forever. Like, that's kind of my general thesis on this. Is like, ever since ETFs came in, the one thing that I feel sure of is ultimate psyop going on right now. So I do want to, as you're going through your stories, I'm going to bring up my charts, and I'm going to be snooping around, because honestly, like looking at this chart right now, it seems like the most aggravating and hilarious thing to do right now would be to pump. That is where I'm at right now.
Well, and getting back over into that fear and greed, there is a huge amount of people that are scared, and there's been a lot of people shaken out, but people are losing money in both directions when they're over trading this. And what I'm talking about is this headline that came out today, and it's not just a headline, it's a data point. There is 477, nearly $500 million in liquidations when Bitcoin had that brief slip below where it's like, it's about to crash. And I even saw some people post, this is the move. It's going down to 72. And what happened when we had that quick move to the downside? oh my God, it basically set up that bull div and boom, just slingshot it back out of it, right up into the zone of this previous range chop that we've had. So there's people still losing money. In fact, I even shared this story, and I'm curious, you all that are watching right now, drop your live comments here. If you're watching later, drop your comments down below. I lost about 11 Bitcoin, which was about $85,000 at the time. This was several, years ago. And I always, it haunts me. I think about the math. It's $1 million loss had I just not been a dumbass and overexposed my, a good portion of my portfolio at the time to trading on leverage. I could have just literally done less and had more. I would have about $1 million of Bitcoin just from that one trade that I lost. So I'm curious, and you don't have to be super specific, and put yourself on blast, but what was your largest liquidation or biggest loss in the market? Was it actually trading, or was it some sort of scam or phishing or hack or something like that? I'm curious. It's good for other people to share those stories, because sometimes somebody's sitting here very sad and beating themselves up because they think they were the only dummy that suffered that particular issue, and you realize that a lot of people are dealing with these type of issues.
Yeah. And it's about, like I'll go through kind of my story. It's like I sat next to Frankie Candles for the first few years. Like I came in working at Hit Network as a macroeconomic researcher and writer, but I sat next to Frankie Candles. He's one of the best traders out there. And I just saw him going through his process and setting up all these crazy trades. He was long and short at the same time. And I started to figure out what he's doing. So I went in there to trade with a $200 bag, right? And I went and learned with this $200 bag for, I think about like 2 years, right? I had to take 2 years of getting my head beat in and learning how to use stop losses, learning how to protect my capital. And in essence, I treated that, 200, I lost it. Then I would go back in with another 200, like 6 months later, lose it, and learn how the market worked. And then when I was finally ready, after 3 to 4 years of doing this, I went in with my, first, like I moved in with $400, right? That turned into $2,000. And then, you know what? Take the profits off, run it all the way from 500. Next time I hit $500 to $5,000. Take the profits off, fight skinny to begin with. If you don't know how to trade and you want to create your own chaos, you need to learn how to walk before you run, right? And so going into trading, if you're not experienced, keeping your exposure level low will lessen the pain in those lessons learned, right? And this is, it's kind of like this video where, the arrows will come and sure, like everyone else is getting
give
demolished.
it to me.
Yeah, so it took me a long time to learn how to trade. And then the thing that's protected me is fighting skinny. And now fighting skinny means fighting with 5-10 grand on, in an exchange, wherever I'm trading at. Most of my trades are on 2Bit or LBank or Blowfin. I love feeding the quant. The quant in our Discord is keeping me really happy in terms of trading as well. He's helped me over the past, like the holiday season, where I didn't really want to pay attention to everything going on in trading. He helped me with shorts on the way down. But honestly, bro, like looking at the charts right now, it feels like I feel like the perfect psyop would be for us to pump from where we're at.
Well,
right
dude,
now.
I've been highlighting this for the last year, and it feels like I'm putting in you as well. But I, like me personally, I feel like I tell TJ this, I feel like I'm building a glass house on top of a hill, and the glass house is super transparency about my conviction about where I think the market's going to go. And that's easy when you're, perceived in the middle of a run. But when you're sitting at a time where there's so much argument that we're at a top, because it's a 4-year cycle and it is starting to have a pullback, which is where a pullback would be on a 4-year cycle. And to be bullish here feels a bit vulnerable, because you're saying, no, this is what I really think is going to happen. Now, this is one of those reasons. While I respect, like, for instance, what Crank was saying, I don't think Crank was wrong on a technical level whatsoever. But when I'm looking at the setup and the conviction of long-term holders versus short-term holders versus the activity on chain and such, and you see something like this, the reserve risk, which is essentially confidence, aka what long-term holder confidence is looking like, how much is moving, taking profit versus sitting sitting still because long-term holders tend to take profits into bull trends, right? So this rises. That's why this metric rises. So this has not happened, even despite the claims, and there is some large rotation from OGs that have been, rotated about 400,000 or 600,000 Bitcoin from, old wallets into some of the new institutional players. Despite all that, this has never left this super high confidence zone. And you can see this metric, this entire area in the green was all the early part of this bull trend until this peaked out once and then swung out. So we've got the peak out once here, same thing in the 2019, 2020 cycle. And then boom, swings back up, boom, on the move out of the green zone is where you actually had the parabolic rise. Similar here, we have you can barely see it, but on the actual chart itself, this has a very slight little peak out right here, which would have been that $109,000 top. But yet we have still never had any of the signal that is moving up. And beyond that, you look at RSI. If you look at the last 5 times, RSI was dropping below 30. Okay, the last 5 times on the daily chart, I believe it is, or it might be on the weekly chart. I'm not sure. But what we're seeing here is the average price action that happened the last 5 times Bitcoin's relative strength dropped below 30. And we are literally on the exact average line of what has happened so far. Now, again, I'm still thinking that we may get, there is a possibility we do get a swing lower. We have big data coming out tomorrow. We've got big data coming out regarding the market structure bill and the opinions around that. We have the FOMC meeting later this month, at the end of the month. And then we also have the government shutdown persistent issue that hasn't been fully resolved yet. But just looking at Bitcoin, it's entirely on track.
Yeah. Like, it looks like, isn't there the tariff? The U.S. Supreme Court is going to make conversational notes about the tariff reversal potential, right? We're sitting at a potential where the U.S. might have to give like $150 billion back to these countries that it's been tariffing if the Supreme Court rules against Trump. Now, I don't think the actual ruling is coming tomorrow, but some of the comment. Do you have any data on that? Because I have kind of a write-up myself. What are you looking at in terms of the tariff side here?
Well, we got this from Bar Chart. Bar Chart says there's now a 73% chance that the Supreme Court will rule against Trump's tariffs. Now, I feel like this is going to be one of those situations we need to kind of sit and wait and see, because we have so many different major elements that are at play right now. Not just, is it legal? Is it not? There's going to be a lot of things that are weighed here. Economic impact, right? What's happening in that regard, but also national security in terms of the tariffs themselves have provided an incredible leverage opportunity to reposition, negotiate different trade contracts, but also different partnerships. There's a lot that goes into these tariffs beyond just were they good, were they bad, and what's going on in that regard. But then you got other data like this. And when you talk about specifically the economy, President Trump cut the U.S. trade deficit in half, lowest in nearly 2 decades. And on this clip, I'm not going to play it, but on this clip, the CNBC guy was just like literally the only word here is flabbergasted. And, I kind of drew that chart up, and this is what it looks like. The trade deficit in March of last year was basically minus $136 billion. So we had a deficit of $136 billion as early as March of last year. And this isn't just a great increase here, a great reduction of that debt. It's also the best position it's been in since all the way back here in early 2016. So yeah. Is it just because of the tariffs? No, there's a lot of things at play here, but it is one of the major players in what's going on.
Well, the Atlanta Fed is feeling pretty good about this trade deficit moving in that direction. The Atlanta Fed's projecting the quarter 4 GDP is going to come in at 5.4% to the upside, signaling an expansion from that deficit, largely due to the narrowing trade deficit. We're coming in hot. We also have U.S. unemployment data coming in at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. So it's going to be a little bit choppy here, and I understand that. That's why I use stop losses. And Bitcoin accumulation on the ETF side, they highlight this, that BlackRock's accumulated like 9,000 Bitcoin and 46,000 ETH over the last 3 consecutive days. And I'm like, all right, what does it look like? Go to market cap here on coin market cap. And this is actually kind of a fun way to find this out for ourselves. If this thing will load here, let me see if it's, I might have too many tabs up, but we are at deep outflows for ETFs. What I wanted to show is have a lot of outflows on ETFs right now coming in. So, it is a very mixed bag. Kind of fun looking at the bubbles here too. Look at this. So your highlight of the AI coins is definitely here. You got Tau, is kind of I feel really good about this one, Kelly, because I haven't been picking everything under the sun in AI coins. Tau is the only one that I felt really comfortable outside, like slightly virtuals, but I felt like there's money to be made in AI. Tau was doing
look at some
well.
of these on Coin Market Cap. I just went to the AI section here, AI and AI big data. I mean, I don't even know what the Desetra. I don't even know what this is. Up 200%. So let's ignore this. Pal AI up 149%. But then we get to some bigger dogs here. Render up 63, 59% for virtuals. Delicium 51%. Even FET ASI up 33%. Tau up 26%. And it's not like they're just up. If you actually come over here and look at where is that tab? I have it here somewhere. Give me 1 second. There it is. So this is Tau. I drew this out. I shared it on the Discover page. This is on the 12-hour time frame. The reason I did 12-hour rather than daily is because I really wanted to highlight where these resistance points, just great neckline as we're seeing here. But what we're looking at is if this is an inverse head and shoulder or a cup and handle, I want to dispel everything out there. If somebody says it's a cup and handle and you argue that it's an inverse head and shoulders, you're a jackass because the measurement is exactly the same. So this is a cup and handle or potentially an inverse head and shoulders. Either way, you measure from this neckline down to the base, the deepest part here. If it's a regular one, the highest part, same thing. And that measurement would take us up to about $435. Well, the problem with this is that we're right at resistance. That's why we have this at key resistance, and it could reject. Does that mean this is completely ignored? No. We want to see how this rejects. Does this reject and maintain this low? Does it stay above the 50% line? Does it come all the way back down? As it stands, we have the RSI that's, look at this, shot well above that 50 mark. So strength is in control. It already had a little bit of a retest. We had the money flow coming up. It's looking pretty darn good. And if we come back over to, where are we at? If we come back over to Tau, looking at it right now, and look at that. It actually had, since I recorded that, it's starting to get a little bit of a rejection there, much like we talked about. You don't want to count on every time. If this has been rejecting every time at resistance, just because you're excited here doesn't mean it's going to blow now. You have to assume, much like Crank perfectly highlighted yesterday, while I think Bitcoin's going to pump, or I think Tau is going to pump, the relevance of how many times this is rejected here suggests that you need to look for a rejection safety first, or potentially even a small short that takes advantage of this if this breaks out, finds support, and continues up.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, there's so much. I think one of the chat really thinks the same way I do. It's like people think that AI is sketchy because everyone thinks it's in a bubble that's going to pop like soon. I agree with him though. I think we got a long way to go before we pop. Eventually it will come down, but honestly, like they haven't even rolled out AI in aggregate to the real populace. Like we're the only nerds here that are talking about AI. If I go to Waffle House,
ask everybody in your family, everybody on here watching right now, ask 5 or 6 members of your family what AI they use. I guarantee you 99% of you might have one family member that's used ChatGPT or Grok, or so we're so aware of it. We see it in our faces all the time. We talk about it in crypto. Maybe you see it on X or other social media platforms, but the mass populace, they don't. I mean, this is nowhere near critical mass or even starting towards that yet. There's so much room to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And really the longevity of crypto outside of like, it's got a good use case for AI, but seeing the crazy story. Did you see that Morgan Stanley news that came out? Did you see
Morgan
that?
Stanley, yeah, but this is great. Everybody should go and follow this right here. This actually tees that part up. Jeff Park, who is an absolute G, he's the CIO of Bitwise. Okay, he is he's awesome. Super smart guy, worth a follow. Make sure you follow him. It's at DGT10010. You see it there. You can go and follow him. But he said, based on my own experience, Morgan Stanley might quietly become the most formidable tokenization platform no one's talking about. He shared this October 4th. He commented on that. He said, remind me of this in 5 years. This was, only 2 months ago, maybe almost 3 months ago. And he has now revised that based on the news that came out today. He said, I guess I didn't need 5 years. This is a speed and rate of change of expectation versus the speed of integration that's happening with blockchain right now. Morgan Stanley is betting big on digital assets, workplace services, and private markets. And this is going to be major when we're talking about tokenization, stores of value, ETFs, utilizing blockchain. Remember, not every blockchain needs a speculative token to be traded. There's a big part of this where there's going to be rails like Ethereum or like name your layer one, name your favorite layer one, that are actually facilitating in-house blockchains that are being utilized to manage logistics, to manage data, to manage. There's so many different aspects that are not just going to be the speculative traded token for that specific use case. So I think this is major. What does this bring up in your mind when you see this type of news?
Oh, when you say speculative traded meme coins or altcoins, I think of XRP. And XRP's got this integration with AWS through their leadership at Ripple. Amazon Web Services and Ripple are going to explore Amazon Bedrock AI for the XRP ledger. So XRPL system logs could be analyzed in 2 to 3 minutes, down from days. So maybe they find a little bit of limelight here. And honestly, like it's hard to pick the true winners in this sector, because like you'll see some things like, how about some Linnea, and I still hold it, but it got cut. Now I think I lost like 50% on that. It was like a 1% of my portfolio I put into Linnea, and it's fallen by like 40 or 50%. So the same thing in terms of price happened to Canton Network. Canton has gone up very well from when I DCA'd and kind of bought deeper lows on Canton. Linnea, not so much. It keeps falling downhill. So I'm kind of torn on if I should buy Linnea or not, because I won pretty hard on the Canton move. It's kind of a tough call. But I really, just looking at all the general charts, if Bitcoin turns around from this gross fear and greed zone you got here, dude, if we turn around and even start sniffing $115,000 again, these alts didn't die as much as they should have.
Well, let's remember. Well, first, you were talking about ETFs earlier, so I'll show this before we go into that. We're not really having anything exorbitant on outflows. This is inflows. This is outflows. This kind of popped up for a second. It came right back down, but really it's just, it's kind of a non-thing. I mean, you look at the Bitcoin price and you look at the cost basis for these different ETFs like BlackRock, Fidelity, Bitwise. So these are still quite a bit below, meaning the average buy of the ETF at various prices over the life of that ETF. This is the average holder's buy zone. It's kind of like the cost basis, realized price, short-term holder, blah, 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 like we're talking about on Bitcoin. Same thing for ETFs. Now, when you're going back to Bitcoin potentially moving, and again, also altcoins, if we come back over here to the dashboard and look at the thing that drives all markets, and you said, I think you said it earlier, Drew, I think sometimes people get worried about a recession and the fear porn. It might have been, it was DZ this morning. People, you get this recession fear porn. Guys, look at the price today of markets compared to 1929. Look at the price today compared to 1950s. Look at the price today compared to the 70s oil embargo issue. Look at the price today compared to the dot-com bubble crash. Look at the price today compared to 2008 housing crisis. The only difference is there were people that were ready to buy the dip and had conviction to buy that dip. There were also people that were able to hold through it, and there were people that sold in fear. Now, the people that were patient or prepared are doing incredibly now. The people that navigated their assets with the fear metric, they are just want to punch themselves in the head. But this comes back to this right here, global liquidity. This is never going to decrease in our lifetimes. And what you see here is when global liquidity takes a steep turn up, this is a predecessor to the Bitcoin price exploding. Now, is it the halving or is it liquidity? Is it the halving or the global business cycle? All these things are intertwined. Here we are again. We had the sell-off from 109 to 74. Well, look at the same time. What happened just before the drop? Look, reduction in global liquidity. And then boom, on this bounce here, where did the bounce happen? Way over here. Well, what preceded that? Global liquidity rising. Here we are again in a dip. What preceded the dip? Decrease in global liquidity. Now what's happening again? Increase, explosion in global liquidity, with only signs telegraphed that more liquidity is coming in 2026.
Dude, I almost thought, like, while you're going through stories, I want to go into this Wyoming stablecoin. According to one of the most based individuals on the planet, has $9,000 in liquidity and 5 holders. This is huge.
They're doing better than most meme coins, but worse than most of the market.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Well, yeah, and it's like, I have a couple things I wanted to touch on in terms of alts, because it's kind of difficult for me to find like an alt, be like, yeah, this one's going to be a deep altcoin that I think is going to do really good. But I do feel like Aerodrome has continued to hammer in to their own buying and providing protocol incentives for people to get involved with their DeFi. So Aerodrome, I think, it's kind of funny seeing people freak out when its price falls down to like 50 cents or 40 cents or something like that. Because right now I'm not necessarily like freaking out about price on charts. I'm freaking out if it's got longevity, if it's got like staying power, and if it's an altcoin that has, well, you know, like a long-term outlook. So do you have Arrow's price pulled up in the background?
Yeah, I'm going to show 2 things. One, and this is going to pertain to Aerodrome. There's been a pretty established sort of support zone on Bitcoin here. If this is lost and comes down in the zone, I think we're going to probably see a pretty big sell-off in alts as well. If this is able to maintain and hold and start pushing up, then great. So when we look at Aerodrome, actually I haven't looked at this in a couple days, this had a pretty big fake out there. Now, too many lines, too many charts. Here we go. We have this line coming all the way back here to February 2024. 2024, wow, I can't believe how long this has been. Now, March 2025, here we are. We fell right through it. It's over for Aerodrome. What happened? Boom, slingshotted right back up. And not only back up, where did it go to? It went to sort of a previous range that we have here. So top, that's kind of right at that. It came right into that zone. So I'd be watching on Aerodrome in terms of near-term trading, not long-term stacking. I think anywhere in this zone is a great stack if you're able to hold. But if this rejects here, I'd be watching back at the 50, 51, 50 sort of cent zone right here. Because if this holds, then basically, one, you have a higher low and you're setting up for an actual breakout. If this loses, then I'd be watching for probably coming down to retest 40, potentially down into the 32s. But I'm leaning more on the bullish side here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like DCA and Praise comment. Aerodrome chart looks like many other altcoin charts. And for sure, like, it looks like it's hitting pretty important support points, but something on the back end in its DeFi realm that makes me really happy seeing is, I'll take away the price first. So the TVL is the blue line, and the price usually is following right in line with that TVL. Right now, the price is actually a little bit of an arbitrage zone for me, and the total value locked on this chain has remained very, very strong, but the price has fallen harder than the TVL has because of sentiment on the market, right? So, you know, by rights, from where the TVL sits right now, this thing should be coming in at around like 75, 80 cents per token. But it's not, because the fear has been so high for so damn long that people are freaking out and they're getting out of their bags, they're getting scared, and they're getting out. I think that, you know, using things like DeFi Llama and just a little bit of the underside of it helps me get a better bellwether on, is this thing going away in the short term, right? Because everyone's talking about this gigantic, huge bear market that's going to come for DeFi included. Because keep in mind, when they say all altcoins are going to lose 90%, they're including DeFi in that conversation. And this is what the DeFi chart looks like. Doesn't look like it's going down by 80 or 90% to me. This looks like a consistent ride up and to the right. Constant growth in DeFi, constant interest in the U.S. infrastructure, and constant fear from banks that it's going to usurp them and take their power away. I like that combination of things.
Yeah, well, how about we take a look at midnight too? We haven't looked at that in a few days.
Sure.
Since it's pull up that chart. I'm curious. No, I don't have it.
Okay.
I'd love
I'll pull it up on my end here.
To pull it up, and But
Yeah,
yeah,
I haven't looked at midnight, but you know, on the privacy coin meta, we have had some. So I'll start with just looking at the change of hands here. So Monero is deep green, deep gains, while Zcash has fallen very, very heavily from all of that developer leaving and freaking out about their corporation holding company, whatever. There's FUD going on. The thing is 2 minutes from the CIA. It's not really privacy. But here, let's go to trading view and let's go to midnight. I haven't looked at this. I think I saw it with DZ this
ooh, look at
morning.
that. Slice right through the moving average, comes right back, bounces on it.
No, this is XRP here. I'm on view only on that, unfortunately. That was XRP. XRP looks delicious, honestly. I got to go to night token
What a
here.
change in tone you've had, sir.
I know. Well, hey, no. All right. I've said this before. My wife bought more XRP. Okay. It's in the damn family portfolio. There's nothing I can do about it.
I'll tell you what, when you hold something or don't hold something, it does change your lens and what you filter into or out of in terms of how you're even seeing news.
That's true. It's true. It does. All right. Let's look at midnight. This is not the prettiest chart in the world, but I look at this with a understanding it's very new. So these are 15-minute candles. Midnight is at 7.4 cents right now. This thing, it came out on the initial release. Midnight was much higher, but when exchanges started listing it, most of the exchanges listed this thing when it was about 4 cents. So I'm not too concerned about it right now, right? Like it's definitely broken that consistent, like algorithmic looking uptrend. Midnight, I'll take a shot at it with a little bag at about 4 cents. I will, because I think that's where you're going to find the psychotic, I'm never selling holders. You know, right now it's looking like a washout, likely to find a bounce point at 6 cents, and it's holding right here at 7.4 cents right now. I want privacy coins to win or at least have a seat at the table. So I feel okay taking a shot at this around the 4 cent level. It's fine. I'm not going to, and this is for context for anyone listening on Spotify, on YouTube, on Twitter, wherever you are. When I look at something that's not Bitcoin and it's not Chainlink and it's not Aerodrome or Morpho, it's a 0.5 to 1% of my portfolio play. I am not jeeting half of my portfolio into midnight at 4 cents, just to be clear. Because when I say these things, people will come back to me. They're like, Drew, you bought some Linnea. I bought half my portfolio worth of Linnea because you bought it. Just because I'm doing something in a public manner does not mean that you should do the same thing I'm doing on a 50x leverage manner. Okay. Like,
or even if somebody has a 2000 total portfolio, and then we say, hey, Linnea looks like it could have some really big upside if it goes. And you and I put in, 0.25% or 0.5% of our portfolio into it. To me, it could go to zero and it won't affect me. But the person who goes, oh, that could have a lot of gains, I'm going to put half my bag in that, and then it goes down 50%. And you're going, God, Kelly said, stop being a bitch. You got to follow the strategy if you're going to follow the data that we're sharing.
Yeah, it's a strategy included, like our trading quant. It's a 1 to 4% of your trading bag for each one of those trades, right? You got to look at the details there,
all right,
because that protects you. Right?
I got some. I just kind of charted out night a little bit.
Okay.
And looking at this, I don't like this structure at all. If we just ignore everything else, this structure is a descending triangle, which means that the resistance is descending. You have flat level of support. This would suggest, and you measure this like this from the widest point, boom, boom, boom. And look at that. The target on that would be, down here in the 4 cent range, right? Boom. So much like you just called out. Now on a structural basis, we've got this zone right here, which clearly has been resistance, support. We're right at it. If we lose this, there's 2 or 3 different things I can see happening. If we get the fake out on the market, like I'm kind of thinking may happen with Bitcoin, that would look essentially like this breaking down, coming kind of into this zone right here, right? There we go. Yeah, coming into this zone, fake out, back up, and then something like that. But if the market does have a bit of a rollover, I'm talking about here, not after months and months of further price action. Then the next real target I'm watching is right here about 5.5 cents down to 5.3 cents, because this is this bounce and these rejections. So although this target's all the way down here, if you're looking for this target, put it in there, limit order. But I would suggest, strategy advice, not financial advice, I would suggest also taking a look at this area and splitting up those buys between this zone and this zone, because this may come down here and find support here and never make it down to this area.
Yeah, and the time frame for hype, this Papa Goose reminding me the hype for night, it is getting a little bit quieter, right? When you don't see a lot of the hype going on, you just got to be careful. And like looking at the chart, I just did my hillbilly TA. I was like, yeah, initial release shelf at 4 cents. Like that's what I want to buy if the price goes down there. It's just a way to protect yourself, you guys. Like you make money slowly, you protect it quickly. You make money slowly by waiting for entry points, juicy options that really give you that good upside, you know, and then protect it quickly. Like I think Ducey was mentioning it. You know, if you hit a 5x, man, that's a 500% increase on a spot position without leverage. That's a major, major win. Let's take a look at Ethereum as well. You got Ethereum up here. Ethereum's still driving the boat for most of the
this is ETH Bitcoin. And golly, what a persistent downtrend this has been. But it's been bullish. Great. It's been bullish into maintaining a downtrend. This goes all the way back to August 2022. So from this point, it just had a channel, broke down, scared everybody, came right back up into it. That's all that happened in this bullishness. It just came back into the downtrend that has been. This is looking like it could be a bullish setup, though. However, in terms of just looking at it like this, where you do have a, you know, the start of a, in this range, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, still higher low. But this is looking like it's trying to decide what the hell it wants to do here. But what does the data say? We got the price action looking as such. Money flow, this is on the 3-day, mind you. Negative money flow. RSI is trying to get into the strength zone, meaning being above this 50 mark, which is about right here. Option J. You see, we're still neutral. So in order for this to break out, we need something to jolt the strength back bullish. And on the daily, we're kind of trying to do that as well. Money flow tried to pop up, but the RSI, it's going to do it. No, right back to zero. So we're still neutral here. We'd like to see this get above 3658, 366, something like this zone before I think we're really going to start seeing bullishness. Now that's ETH to Bitcoin. If you look at ETH, just ETH as it stands, super bullish. It's starting. Well, it just came right up into a resistance line, right? We're still in the SSRI zone, depression zone, because people want their alts to run, and it's not going to happen while ETH is maintaining a downtrend.
Yeah. And, you know, don't get depressed about lower prices, people. Jesus. Like, as long as you're like, here's the thing is, we'll run into, there's a lot of aggravation from how 2025 went, right, for altcoins. And the mindset of people that are trying to make that money back is to buy deeper and deeper, lower market cap projects to try to find that like 100x flyer and stuff like that. Please use discernment in doing that, because there is 27 million different crypto projects made now, right? Not all of these are going to rise. And you have to think about the .com bubble saw many tech companies that pumped really hard at the front end of the .com bubble, but then dumped to basically zero as the real winners were chosen.
Your dad is ruthless.
Oh, yeah. We all agreed Ethereum was worth $2,400 7 years ago. Oh, my God. Yeah, he's
well, you know what? To ETH's credit, though, I was talking with TJ and some other folks about this earlier. ETH has kind of rewrote the sort of speculative playbook around the altcoin market, in that one of the major selling points to many altcoins in the ETH ecosystem, the EVM chains, was that they were more scalable and they were faster, right? Now, Drew, what did we see in the last 2 days? But ETH, it's not just the last 2 days, it's really the last 2.5 years. There's been changes along the way, and it's been frustrating people. Yet it's gotten to the point now where ETH is among one of the cheaper chains to use, even cheaper than some of the layer twos that were supposed to fix that problem. in terms of gas fees. But then beyond that, they also got up to the point where they're doing like 58,000 transactions per second. So then what? I'm not hating on Avalanche. I like Avalanche. What is Avalanche's deal now, though? If ETH can do that, what is Polygon, Matic? What are these other EVMs that were doing it faster and more scalable and cheaper? But now ETH can do all those. Where does that leave that other part of the ETH ecosystem?
On the sideline, dude. It does. All right, so we got to talk about this. So, because there's a lot of people that haven't been around and weren't in the trenches last cycle. So, Ethereum got to the point where one transaction would cost you $500, right? And it got to the point where it got so unusable for the like lower end crypto user that wasn't sending $10 million or whatever, that was willing to pay the $500 fee. It got basically unusable for smaller bags, right? So then the development of layer twos, things like Optimism, Arbitrum, Polygon, all of these other things came out. In last cycle, I saw Polygon hit, and I saw the narrative was needed because ETH gas was too expensive. Polygon was a layer 2 that was doing those transactions for very, very cheap, and I liked the logo. So I bought an ass load of it at 2 cents. G'd it all at $2, took my 100x, and happy as ever. Right now, Polygon, I haven't bought it since that moment last cycle. But we saw basically Coinbase capture Ethereum in the short term, driving a lot of DeFi liquidity, a lot of institutional interest into the base network for that DeFi sector. What do we see with the existing infrastructure? Aave, though decent prices, a lot of FUD, a lot of fallout, a lot of internal battles going on with the DAO. And so when I see things like this, I just understand that the United States has a crypto intention, and these institutions are going to be pushed to a specific location within the crypto infrastructure. It's going to be an American crypto exchange. It's going to be Coinbase, right? It's Base Network. So this is where I kind of shifted gears. I got out of Ethereum proper and went to Aerodrome and Morpho, all those things, because I just
blew my mind though, dude. Did you see this? Active addresses, leading EVM change by active addresses, Polygon. And I'm like, who's using it?
Like Polymarket users, right?
I know, but it's like one of those things where things can be out of the zeitgeist of popular sentiment, but then there's still major utility happening without you realizing it. In fact, Base, as you just mentioned, that's why I brought this up. Base is now outperforming on an active address basis. It's outperforming Ethereum. And Say is outperforming all four of these. And BNB is the clear winner here. So I just thought that was interesting. Is Paul dead? Is it going to make a comeback? Is it further entrenched than we think it is? And we're getting locked into the speculative mindset versus the longer term roadmap of integrations and deployment. I don't know, but this kind of data does kind of challenge some of the sentiment basis that's out there.
Well, I got a Trump NFT on Polygon still. There's a lot of use with it on Polymarket, but Polymarket does allow for Solana as well. So it's not just Polygon that is in Polymarket, right? It's kind of like the starting point. Go back to the chart. What the hell is Say doing all the way up there? This chart makes me feel like it's counting a bunch of address bot farms, and Say is just like, all right, we're gonna hire 10,000 people to do 100
a little
wallets
tidbit here. You have to pay attention to all the data, right? Little tidbit here. Follow my mouse. Follow my mouse. Follow my mouse.
Where is it? What does it say?
Source, Say Network.
Say Network. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, this, that's why, data can be so skewed, and you really, something like the in-person sentiment, I think, matters a lot to me. Like, because you get on Twitter and there's a lot of accounts that are like from Afghanistan or Syria or wherever, and they're like posting as chicks that are in crypto Web3 universe, and these are such great projects. That's why you have to use discernment, right? We had 3 commercials. That must mean we're popular. I just, right now I'm looking for projects with longevity. It's a short list. It's Bitcoin, Ethereum, Chainlink, Morpho, Aerodrome. And then I got some flyers on the sidelines that might do well. But trading is how I had a lot of fun last year, and I'm going to do it again this year. I will emphasize, I understand everyone looking for massive, massive moves. If you are trading, stop losses are my friend. They made me protect my money many, many times. I know there's a lot of influencers that just raw dog. And you know what? The thing is, if you're raw dogging a trade without a stop loss, it's because you're willing to lose the entire bag. It's not because, you're fine and you have so much conviction, you're sure of yourself. It's because they're willing to lose the entire bag for the content. So please, please pay attention to that.
Yeah, I do want to say though, before we're going to be wrapping out here in a few minutes, not yet, but I do want to just re-highlight, make sure you're following Druth, guys. He shares so much great content. It's right here at Druth Crypto. Make sure you're following the Discover Crypto channel, which is at Discover Crypto _. And of course, make sure if you'd like to give me a follow at Kelly Kellum. One of the reasons why we show these and ask you to follow is also so you can double check who you're following, because I've got probably 150 fake accounts out there impersonating me alone. So make sure it's got the logo. It's got this little pudgy penguin, and it's got 46,000. We got Discover at 1 million. Okay. We got Druth here with the pudgy penguin as well, with the coming up on 10,000. Everybody go and follow him. And I actually have something funny here. We're seeing all this stuff about fraud going on right now in the US, but the truth is it's not a partisan thing. If you think people calling out fraud is some partisan nonsense, you are, sir or ma'am, an idiot. Fraud is bad regardless of political party. We need to clear this out so we have better budgeting, so funds are spent in a way they should be spent. Now, I have a proposal, and I found this on X. Maybe this is one of the ways, for instance, like disability offices, maybe this is one of the ways we can root out some of the fraud claims in disability.
Oh, Lord. All right. Ah, shit. Just starts running away. Oh my gosh. Yeah. The fraud, the chaos going on right now. I cover it a lot because it matters to me culturally, and it does matter to me politically, but don't get distracted off your bags and making money at the same time, right? Like don't get wrapped up so deeply that we can't have a light heart, find some trades, find some things to invest in, and make money, right? Because we see all the problems culturally. We need to invest in the right things to fight from a high ground, to have resources to insulate yourself. So let's say you get fired for having the wrong political belief, whatever it may be. You need money to be able to fight from the high ground on a political spectrum only, right? Don't take my words like Tim Walz is calling for it. I don't have a National Guard to use against the feds. Okay. So I can't really speak on the same level as Tim. But there's a shift going on among young men and women right now that I am very happy to see. Hopefully the pendulum doesn't swing too far.
You know what? We could probably close on this then. And I'm going to keep it small just to make sure that we don't have any issue with it. But let's pull this up really quick. Just some words from George Carlin. And this applies to everybody, whether you're on the left or the right. This applies if you feel, because I found myself getting frustrated. And this is just a minute long. So here's just a little comedy to wrap out the day.
When your identity is your ideology, congratulations, you've officially screwed yourself, because now it's not just an idea, now it's you. And when the idea gets challenged, you don't hear disagreement, you hear an attack. So what do? You build a bubble, a nice, soft, padded little bubble where everyone agrees with you, uses the same words, hates the same people, and claps at the exact right moments. And you will defend that bubble at all costs, even if it makes you sound incredibly stupid. Facts don't matter anymore. Logic's gone. Humor? Dead. Because admitting you're wrong would mean admitting you are wrong, and that's unacceptable. So you double down, louder, angrier, dumber. And that's how you end up defending nonsense like it's sacred scripture, not because it's true, but because without it, you'd have to actually develop a personality.
God forbid that. Oh my God. Carlin's absolutely awesome. That is absolutely awesome.
It's a message for, I think, for our time, for all of us. Nobody knows what the heck's going on. You can share your thoughts, but you're not an expert. I find myself getting trapped on Sundays when nothing else is going on, where I'll do a 4 or 5 tweet rampage on some political, and I'm like, what the, you know what? I mean, I can have my thoughts, but I'm stirring up nonsense just like everybody else, and it's silly. I believe in a number of nuanced different things, as I'm sure every single one of you do, but let's love each other more. Let's share some more discourse. Let's instead say you're wrong and say, why do you believe that?
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot, Kelly. And what I'll be doing is I'm going to get back into the Discord now that my greedy little fingers are back into the leverage action. It's a new year. I'm ready for new bags of Tether. So if you aren't already, join us in the Discord. We're going to be doing trading streams in there. No set schedule on them yet. I'm just going to find the trades, start the show. So make sure to get in the Discord so you can get those. Also, don't miss the trading calls from the quant. If the market isn't going our way, we find ways to make things go our way, and we can do this many, many different paths. So make sure to get in there, and make sure to support us by using a cold storage device from the best in the business.
We just wanted to take a quick second to shout out our sponsor, Arculus. They are a cold storage hardware wallet, helps you secure all of your digital assets for the future. Just tap this thing to the back of your phone and boom, you're in. We wouldn't be able to do this without them, but also wouldn't be able to do this without you guys, the Disco fam. You've supported us a lot over the years. If you want to support the channel now, just use the code DC20. It gets you 20% off this card. It's the #1 way you can support this channel going forward. Thank you for your support. We'll see you at the top.